Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today I'm doing a review of the Wordsmith by Patricia Forde. I read this book over the weekend. I read it in like less than 24 hours. I flew through it. It was so good. I couldn't put it down. It's absolutely gorgeous too. It's just a pity like it doesn't come out as nicely on camera with these plastic library covers they put to protect the books. So if you saw my library haul, you'd heard me talking about this book, but I'll read you the blurb to give you a little synopsis first of all. Ark is a place of tally sticks, rationed food and shared shoes, where art and music are banned. Language is severely restricted and outcasts are thrown to the wolves. Letta's job is to collect words and dole them out to the people who need them. When she discovers that John Noah is planning to rob the people of language altogether and make them wordless, she has to stop them. But she's only a young girl and he's the leader of the known world. This really intrigued me just for the concept of language being restricted, and I wanted to see how they sort of done it in the book. So the story sort of is set in the future. The polar caps have melted and sea level has risen. It has destroyed a lot of human civilization and most people are wiped out. The only land that then exists is high ground, which is obviously cut off by water from other mountain ranges or whatever. So it's essentially a small island that they're living on. They don't have any technology. Water is hard to come by. Food is severely rationed and things like that. There has been a system put in place by the guy who's built this. It was people who saw this coming, and he built like a little walled area on high ground. He had put in a way to clean water and stuff like that, and he brought people to it as the sea levels were rising. And there are people that live outside of this, sort of in the woods and around, but within the town it's under this man's control. And one of the ways he has found to govern the people, he thought one of the problems with the world before it was destroyed where humans weren't living enough like animals, which we essentially are, and that was our downfall. So he thought language was one of those big problems, so he sees about trying to curb how language is used. The children are only taught 700 words from the English language, and eventually then the rest of the words find their way out, because if the children aren't taught them, the parents can't communicate them with them and so on. So even the people who have been there, who remember sort of our time of the world when language was freely used, they can't communicate if they use it. And everyone has a stick on their neck, and if you use a word that's not list, you get like a gash on your stick, and if you get so many disturbances, then you are sort of thrown out of this gated community. So the little girl is a wordsmith. So she is the apprentice of the wordsmith who keeps all the words recorded. If any language is found, like if an old box of washing powder washes up, he takes it away, examines it, and he's also responsible for doling out job-specific words. So if you become a farmer, you're going to need to know specific words maybe not everyone knows. So that's sort of general setup. I enjoyed how it was done in the story. I enjoyed the writing style. Obviously this is the story of this little girl coming to realise that list and stuff isn't maybe the best way to go, but I liked that it wasn't like, oh, I've certainly met this person that has this opinion, I'm going to shift all my ideas that have been forming all my life because of the society that I've been brought in to this view. She struggled a lot with the transition, you know, going back, because she was raised trusting the leaders and trusting that this was the right thing, and totally throughout her whole life propaganda has been fueling that this is the way for humans to go. So it wasn't a clean like, oh, forget all that I've been enduring my whole life, I'm just going to switch sides, which was good. And also there was good and bad points brought up about both sides. You know, the ones that were trying to reinstore language and art and music weren't all good either. They done bad things and it was seen as bad, and it didn't sit well with her. So I really like that balance. It wasn't good and evil, it was two political sides and they both had positives and negative, but she chose this one particular way after a lot of consideration and sort of debate. So I like that. I like how the story went. I like that it was set in our future, like it wasn't an alternative world, it was set in our future after global warming has taken course. I think a lot of the political and moral thoughts that are brought up for me were quite thought-provoking. I like the character development a lot in this story. I don't think there was any irrelevant characters which I can dislike in stories. It wasn't tropey at all. Without spoiling it, there is a bit a romance comes through at the end, which I normally hate. But I know that's me. The sun's coming out and it's lovely. I know that's me, and not being a fan of romance in books, and it was done well and it wasn't cliche or anything really. It wasn't insta-love or anything like that, so I don't think it was enough. Even though that was one little thing that I didn't quite like, I don't think that was enough to knock it down from a 5-star to a 4-star, purely because I know that that's nearly all me and really nothing to do with the book. So I really love this. I found it really thought-provoking as well as really enjoyable. Sort of our use of language in the arts in our society, and how free is it, and is it free, and how it's misused and the privilege is sort of abused by people, I guess. So it was a really interesting read. I would really suggest picking this up. And Patricia Forde, I know you're not listening, but I need a sequel to this book. It was so good. This is Patricia Forde's first novel. She's an Irish writer. She's done TV shows and then like kiddie little baby books, you know, like very simple 1 sentence per page type things before, but this is her first novel. It was in the YA section of my library. I would say younger could read this. I'm thinking like any sort of teenage, sort of like 13 plus, and an adult, like, don't be put off by the YA. I don't really read, there's nothing YA about this apart from, I guess, the main character is under 18, but that would be the only thing that I can think that would possibly put it in the YA category. Thought-provoking and enjoyable and a really good read. The Wordsmith by Patricia Forde. That is my review for today. I hope you're all happy. I hope you're all healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.